Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're listening from. Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. I hope you had an amazing new year, and this is day 2, January 2nd of 2020, and I am so happy for you to be listening to the show. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 74 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us in our Facebook group for the show, Life Transformation Radio Community. You can interact with the guests and myself, ask any questions, and have another dialogue about the topics that we cover on the show. I also ask that you subscribe, rate, and review wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, Castbox, Himalaya app, the Google Play Music app, and now we are available on Pandora. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them using transformational moments. And my guest today has done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, Tuesday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, join us at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my guest and friend for today, Tim Cooper. Tim, my friend, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thanks, Sean. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to be here. I'm really, really excited to have a chat with you today.
I'm honored to have you on the show. You are doing amazing, amazing work in the online marketing space with digital summits, virtual summits, and things of that sort. Where are you calling in from?
I'm coming in from the beautiful sunny Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. So if anybody's ever heard of a place called Surfers Paradise, that's in my city. I'm a little bit south of that, but it's currently summer here, and I was actually running the air conditioning just before we started this interview, so it's a bit warm.
And everybody in the upper part of the United States and in Canada doesn't like you because it is very cold. Oh man, it blew me away. Maybe because people are naive or just don't even realize. But I had no idea that it is the complete opposite in Australia. I figured the whole world got cold the same. Christmas was at the same time. I could never imagine Christmas in shorts surfing. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like our Christmas lunch is very, very different. So it's like no cold prawns or cold shrimp, no cold cuts. We don't have a hot Christmas lunch here.
When you hear Christmas songs, I'm sure that you do the same things. You get a tree and all that stuff. Right? I mean, the festivities are all the same. But I can just imagine if it was me, because this is the way I've grown up. If I took a vacation for Christmas in Australia, the song it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
So true.
Well, the weather outside is
We actually have something here in Australia called Christmas in July. because obviously that's our winter. But I live in the subtropics, so it doesn't get that cold anyway. Like, it might get down to, and of course we're talking Celsius, so it might get down to single figures. But because I know where I live, I live close to the ocean. I can actually see the ocean from my balcony, and so it doesn't get as cold as North America, Canada. So I don't see snow any time of the year. And basically, we say we've only got really two climates. We don't see that beautiful transition through fall or autumn. When all the leaves change colours, and we just don't see those stark contrasts in some parts of Australia. We do, because some parts of Australia do get quite cold. But where I am, we basically have summer, so it's hot and a little bit cooler.
So your seasons are hot and not so hot.
That's right.
That's funny. Oh man, my dream is to go to Australia. My dream is to speak in Australia. I've always wanted to go there. Not a fan of the spiders. I hear there's a lot of big, huge spiders. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of spiders. But other than that, I would love to take my wife and kids out to Australia. I think it would be absolutely amazing. I don't know how they would do it a 22-hour flight, but I just think it would be absolutely phenomenal, just to go to Australia. So that's in the cards. That's part of my dream stage, if you will. So I'm excited to have you on the show, and the topic of the show is Science of Marketing and Social Psychology with marketing consultant Tim Cooper. Business and marketing consultant, digital marketer, copywriter, author, and coach, Tim Cooper is a business and marketing strategist and a wellness industry specialist. Prior to commencing natural health studies in 1999, Tim worked as a software design engineer and business analyst for over 20 years. In 2013, Tim completed his first marketing course and fell in love with the science of marketing and social psychology. Tim is the founder and co-host of the Global Wellness Professionals Marketing Summit and co-founder of the Work Freedom Summit. Tim brings a unique blend of industry, technical, and business knowledge to his coaching clients and students as he helps them gain clarity in their business while unleashing their inner greatness. His link right there in the show notes, timcooper.com.au/clarity, will take you to a free gift and a link that he has for everybody to check out today. It is Tim Cooper, COOPR, timcooper.com.au/clarity. His Facebook and LinkedIn is right there in the show notes. I recommend you connect with him and send him a message, let him know that you heard his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Tim, the first question I have to ask, and I ask every guest question because it is the most sought after reason people are doing something, and it's their why. So for you, why do you do what you do?
Well, Sean, I'm passionate about natural health. Like I said, after sort of leaving the computer industry with a bit of taste in my mouth, and we can talk about that later, because that's probably part of my transition. But I started to study all sorts. I studied herbalism and remedial massage and aromatherapy and aromatic medicine, and I have a love for the natural approach to health and wellness. And I worked for 10 years in elite sport, and I came out of that industry and came to my own business. And I struggled initially until I sort of changed the mindset and gained some skills. And what I've found is that, especially when it came to the wellness industry, that there's this major disconnect in this inner struggle with massage therapists and acupuncturists and people who work there, that they're healers, and they've got this struggle inside about charging for their services. So it's in a turmoil that they come through. So my why is to help these amazing gifted therapists and healers build solid businesses so that they can actually help people. Because as we know, if you're broke and you go out of business, you can't help anybody. And if we want to see the natural health industry grow, then we want to make those. We want to help those people see their worth, see their value, and give them the tools they need to build. So my why is twofold. Firstly, I want to see the wellness industry become the norm instead of the sickness industry, instead of the pharmaceutical side of things. I want to see people turning more towards healthy ways of living before turning to drugs. And then secondly, to actually help the people within that industry thrive.
I love it. That's amazing. There's a lot of emphasis on other vices and other chemicals, I guess, if you will, rather than promoting, good health, because that goes against tobacco companies. It goes against alcohol manufacturers. It goes against, cigars and, partying and, the woo-woo stuff, the meditations. That wasn't even talked about, 10, 20 years ago. But here we are in 2020 talking about meditation and mindfulness practices. We're talking about meal planning. We're talking about getting fit. I just saw something. I saw a news article sometime between the 30th and yesterday talking about in 2030, they project, if humans stay on the same path, that 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 people will be obese in their household. That is insane. That is just crazy. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, and it's a worldwide epidemic. I know, and I suppose, look, I'm far from being a conspiracy theorist. I just call things as it is. And even here in Australia, we've got the TGA, which is equivalent to your FDA, and they have really gagged natural health and natural health professionals. Like even in Australia, like there seems to be a bit of a witch hunt, which happened. Like I don't think it's as bad in the States but you guys went through that sort of really, really crazy. Like the pendulum always swings too far from one side to the other. There is never a really good balance. And so now Australia is going through that same witch hunt type thing where the only natural modality that you can actually claim on your health insurance for is remedial massage, because they consider it as being aligned with conventional medicine. But all those, so all the naturopathy and kinesiology and all those other modalities where before people could actually claim on their health insurance, that's all gone. And people and even natural health providers can't speak openly about what they can do for people, because then they say, no, you're making claims. And we all know that's universal. Same thing with the FDA, that the only people who can make claims are drug companies and doctors.
Right.
So
that's part of the issue.
It's a huge issue. And I think I used to work as the Director of Communications for a natural health college. And part of that role, as well as sort of teaching dry needling and remedial massage techniques, I also taught the business and marketing components. But also part of my role was to do their SEO and their marketing side of things as well. And we actually noticed, we were very lucky because we weren't big bloggers. And I think it was sometime in 2017, I forget the exact date, but Google changed its algorithm. And what it did is it automatically demoted anything that was produced by people who Google felt didn't have enough authority. And so sites like some of our competitor sites actually were demoted, and we found ourselves flying up the Google ranking, which was good for us. But what we're finding is that even social media and search engines are burying information that is alternative or contrary to what conventional medicine and the drug companies like to say, which we've seen Facebook closing down pages that are based on alternative health. And what concerns me is that, as I said, I'm not going to cry conspiracy and that sort of stuff, but I just think it's hypocritical, and I have a real issue that people should be able to make informed decisions. They should be able to go, they should be able to do their research, they should be able to find solid information that supports both sides of the equation. So find solid information on conventional medicine, find solid information on natural and alternative methods, and then make up their own mind based on informed choice. And we're not getting that. We're not getting that opportunity. That this information is basically being buried by social media and the search engines. So it's called EAT. I think it's called Education Authority and Trust or something or other. But it's part of the Google algorithm, and it's very real.
Wow. Yeah, I don't want to cry conspiracy theorist either, but coincidences are coincidences, I would think.
Yeah,
we don't, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, conspiracies by nature are hidden and open to conjecture. That's why they're called conspiracy theories. This is happening right out in the open, right? So there's no guesswork involved. It's trackable. It's documented. We know what's happening. So it's not really a conspiracy. It's just people probably not having access to the rights and the free speech to which they believe that they should have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The whole time I'm listening, I'm thinking about here in the United States. How many times was something buried, or was something? For example, I know the supplement industry is about $1 billion industry, if not more. I have friends that work at GNC. That'll tell you if we took everything off the shelf in our inventory and replaced it, or if we just only took off the things on the shelves that are unproven or that somebody has come out with and did claims and didn't really have scientific studies, it'd be maybe 4 products on the shelves. Like, what? Like, come on. And you do research, and it's unregulated. The supplement industry is unregulated. And there's a big conspiracy video out there where these guys get into the business and they're filling capsules with a blend, and they say that it's got a little bit of protein, it's got a little bit of whey protein, it's got a little bit of this. We didn't measure anything. We just put a bunch of stuff together and mixed it up and put it in these capsules. And it's good stuff. It's amino acids and proteins and stuff. There's no way to tell how it's going to work, but it's safe stuff. And they're going to sell it and make a bunch of claims about it because it's unregulated. And the difference between food that the FDA approves and the supplement industry is on the back of the containers. It says, you know how it says nutrition facts, FACTS? Yep. Well, on the back of the supplement containers, it'll say supplement facts, FAQs.
Huh.
It won't actually say facts. It's supplement FAQs. It'll say whey protein, and this is in there, and this is in there, and this is in there. And then there's like proprietary blend, which means nothing. It's just blended together. Yes. So I totally understand what you're talking about.
And the interesting thing too, Sean, is that it's interesting that you do bring up supplements, because that's one thing that the TGA here in Australia, and the TGA stands for Therapeutic Goods Association. So they're the same people. They play the same role here as the FDA does in the States. Yep. And they have recently targeted supplement companies, saying that supplements are now the next great frontier for them to go out and tackle. And I agree. I think we've got to be very, very careful what we put in our bodies, and some of the stuff that the supplement companies put in, because it isn't regulated, can be just downright dangerous. So, or just useless. So I do believe that these things have to be brought into line as well to make sure that people are getting what they're getting, and that the expectations of what the ingredients are and do and how they work are real, and and also that the ingredients are actually of high quality.
Now, I completely agree with that, and I think that it's a dangerous game that people are playing. The whole focus of the show is about transformational moments that happen to us and change our lives and put us on the path to what we're doing today. And I kind of read through one, and in 2013 you were creating a marketing course and just fell in love with it. So would that be your transformational moment, or is there a different one that transformed your life and put you on the path to what you're doing today?
I'd say, to be honest, there were two major events leading up to 2013. That in 2004, actually it would have been prior to, probably 2003. So this goes back to when I was still working in IT as a software design engineer, and I designed a software program that managed the engineering department of big hotels. I mean, like the big fellas like Hilton, Sheraton, Four Seasons, that sort of stuff. And this is this sort of stuff where not only did it sort of manage the scheduled maintenance for plant and equipment, but also that when the maid service goes to a room and there's a light bulb out, they can pick up a telephone, they can type in a code like 456, and a message will come down to engineering saying replace bulb in room whatever. And then obviously with reporting throughout all the different departments of the hotel, so the front office manager knows that that the work, what status that work is at, and also flags come up saying that if that bulb keeps on blowing every 5 minutes, then obviously it's not they've got to sort of investigate the wiring, all sorts of stuff. So it was quite a complex piece of software, and within a couple of years, it actually became the benchmark piece of software for the hotel industry. And to get that out and about, I partnered with the largest software company, the software house for hospitality software in the world. And even though I maintained ownership of the software, we rebranded it to put their logo and stuff on the front of the software, just to make it look as if it was part of the family, part of the suite. We also had to rewrite a lot of the code because this was an international company. The software had to be translated into numerous languages and installed around the world. So we had to make it so that all the on-screen prompts were stored in a database, and so that when they pull up a screen, depending on the language of the user, those prompts would come up. I even had to go to Beijing and have it so that it would switch between Mandarin and English, because the management were expats and the worker bees were locals. So it was a big deal. And one day so after all this hard work, it cost a lot. Like the actual contract cost $18,000, and that was back.
Wow.
And we're talking back in goodness gracious, 25 years ago, and I had to pay half of that. That was the international distributing and support contract. So anyway, after a period of time, after all that work, I even had to get another programmer in to get the workload done by deadline, and it was out there. It had been translated into numerous languages, like Spanish and German and French and Russian and installed around the world. And I got a phone call one day from somebody in the accounts department saying, "Congratulations, Tim, you're a millionaire. Hilton International and a few other these big chains have just signed corporate agreements." And basically, what happens in the corporate agreement is they've actually got to pay a high percentage of that money up front to lock in the cheaper price. And my cut of that was over seven figures.
Wow.
And he said, "No, you'll be getting a fax to with all the details." So anyway, I go upstairs and I tell my wife at the time and that sort of stuff, and because we weren't doing too bad. But at that time they had me on a retainer, so they had me on a 6-figure retainer, and this is going back to the late 90s. So that wasn't bad money. And then what they did is that every 6 months they'd actually top up my commission. So I was on a set commission amount. They'd pay me a monthly retainer, and then every 6 months they would top up based on the commission that was actually earned. So we were on good money. Like, we had a brand new car in the driveway. We were living in a 4-story house on the side of a hill where we had koalas in the trees, and we could see for miles north and south, overlook the ocean. Absolutely beautiful. We also had a house up in Brisbane that we were renting out. So we were living a pretty good life.
Good.
So I went upstairs and I told my wife that we'd finally made it, that the contracts were signed. And then nothing happened. And so I rang the guy back and I said, "Hey, listen, mate, I haven't received that fax yet." And he goes, "Oh, look, I'm so sorry, Tim. I took the fax in for the financial controller to sign, and he told me not to tell you anything about it." And so that ultimately started a 3-year corporate battle, because they basically stole the software. And they never disputed the fact that the software belonged to me. It's just the fact that they were a big multinational company, and they just decided that they weren't going to pay me, and that's just what they did with all their third-party vendors. And it's a big name, and I've had to sign non-disclosure stuff, so I can't actually name the company, but I can guarantee you that if you go into any sort of restaurant in the US, like, I mean, a decent-sized restaurant, their software will be running. And if you go to big hotels, like maybe the big 4- and 5-star hotels, but my software is running in there, so it's a big deal. But I can't. As I said, I can't.
Right. So did you ever end up getting
them.
paid?
No. Well, basically, I threatened them, and I was like a thorn. I was a thorn in the foot, and they ended up telling me to go away, and they gave me something like $70,000 just to go away. And at that stage, I had to take it because they killed my income. I'd lost my car. By that stage, I lost my wife. All of a sudden, she didn't love me as much when the money wasn't in the bank. So
wow.
it had a major, and I think it's really funny. I actually did a Facebook Live about 12 months about, and I hadn't spoken about it for so long. And I thought, oh look, I'll use this as an analogy for something else. And I started to talk about it, and I sort of realised how raw like certain parts of it still were, and how, even though I thought I had got over it, I really hadn't. And so that was a big thing for me to come to realise, is that even though it wasn't the first thing on my mind, even though I thought I'd moved on, it was still having a major impact. So that was one thing that really changed my trajectory. Because then what happened is I went and worked because I was never short of work. I was being approached and had offers coming at me almost every day from other software houses. So within a week of that happening, I was then working for the second largest software house in the world, and I was writing software in competition to my own, and I did it for about 7 years, and that was soul destroying.
That's
so
funny.
But during that time, so then in 2004, mid 2004, my 9-year-old son got cancer, and so that everything was, and you think, man, like if those guys in the States had ripped me off, I would have been in, like, we could have, not that it's easy to go through at any time, but like I've just lost my income. I'm in this sort of no man's land, and now my child, who I'm very, very close, like even from the time he was born, we had a very, very close bond, is now ill, and he got diagnosed 4 days before his 9th birthday. So
wow.
we got through that. He went through 7 months of really intense chemo. I was doing a little bit of consulting work just to keep, so money was flowing in, and I was probably fortunate enough just to be in that situation where I could work by his bedside. And then, so then sort of life went on. I was working for this other company and that sort of stuff. And then he got cancer again just before his 16th birthday, and we got through that one as well. So now he's 24. He's vibrant. He's the life of the party. He's going really well. But I think those things. But during that time, that's when I was doing a lot of work in elite sport, and also that's through that transitional period. And I think I always had a love for natural medicine and that sort of stuff. But when you see your kid being pumped full of toxic chemicals and losing his hair and bloating up because of all the steroids and that sort of stuff, it's scary and it's heartbreaking. And not that I didn't turn to natural remedies and natural medicine to cure cancer. I turned to those resources to boost up his immune system and to give him a fighting chance, because like most people who pass through cancer, it's not the cancer that kills them. It's the side effects. It's the fact that their immune system has been destroyed and that sort of stuff. So that's where my real love and passion for the natural medicine came from. Even though I had studied it before he got ill the first time. And the other thing too is that in Australia, I don't know whether it's the same in the States, but I know it's definitely the same in Australia and New Zealand, is that if they're minors, so if they're under 16 years of age, they have to go through chemotherapy. You've got no choice. And as a parent, if you go, no, I don't want my kid to go through chemotherapy, they will take the child from you and make the child a ward of a state, and the child will still get the chemo. So it's basically forced.
Wow.
Now,
even if the child's like, I don't want it, if the child says they don't want it?
Correct.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Until the age of 16. So basically, it's enforced, right? But my boy's still with me, and
that's crazy.
When he was 9, to see him get to 21 would have been a miracle. And now he's 24, and he's fit and healthy, and he plays Aussie rules football and everything else. So I'm truly blessed, and I don't know. I'm looking back saying, what would I have done it differently? I don't know. I didn't have a choice, right? We didn't have a choice to do it any differently. But we have seen families being chased down by police because because the child was so sick, and the child said, I don't want to have any more, and so that the families have taken the child from hospital, and the police have been called and actually chased them down like common criminals. Which isn't a great thing. Very, very, like the whole situation is scary enough and upsetting enough as it is without law enforcement coming in. So if that's the transitional side of it, was utilizing these natural things like essential oils and herbs, and using nutrition as medicine to support my son during this time, and to ensure that his immune system was as solid as possible. And I've got many. We don't have time on this interview to talk about the proof, because like even the medical fraternity was surprised that he actually had a portacath inserted. He was having weekly chemo. Like the second time round, he was having weekly chemo. He had a portacath installed so he had the chemo. And normally with portacaths, they get infected all the time because they're a foreign object underneath the skin. And he had that portacath in for 2 years. He never got an infection. And the medical fraternity were just absolutely amazed. And that was because of the essential oils and everything else that I was actually using was keeping all those bugs and sort of stuff under control, because his own immune system couldn't. So there's so many things there. But if you talk about a transition into what I'm doing now, that's where I said I always had an interest in natural health, but that's where that transition came through. And then I want to see. I said I want to see natural health. I want to see prevention become the norm. Like at the moment, we are so reactive when it comes to health. And you're right. Now you talk about people's lifestyle choices, and they just go out there and they just smash themselves because they know they can just take a pill and feel better. And it's like a smoker knows that it's probably not the best thing for their health to do, but they don't really care, and they'll still do it because they're addicted. And I'm not once again having a go at smokers. I used to be a smoker myself. I gave up 10 years ago, and that was a struggle. And an addiction is an addiction, like whether it be maybe food, alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs. It still works around that same part of the body. It's an addiction. So you can't take these things lightly. But the point is that it's not a big deal to them until they get ill. And I know many smokers who go, oh, no, it's all right. No, by the time I get cancer, there'll be a cure for it. I'm thinking, wow, that's not really.
Not really. No, not really.
So yeah, so I suppose those transitional moments were so what got me out of computers, which I still love, but what got me out of working as a software engineer and developer and into the natural health side was being ripped off for over $1 million. What sort of really got me to cement myself into the natural health realm was my son getting ill, and then of course coming out of working in elite sport and being surrounded by amazing like amazing people, like the best in the business, like physiotherapists, doctors, and that sort of stuff, and working beside them and learning these amazing skills, so that when I left elite sport at the end of 2013, well, I left full-time elite sport. I still worked occasionally for the PGA, so the PGA in Australia. Whenever the PGA came to the Gold Coast, I was the massage therapist for the event. And I did that up until 2017 when I finally retired from hands-on massage. I just became an educator.
Oh wow!
But then I came out into the world with these amazing skills, and I couldn't survive. I was broke. I couldn't understand. I knew, because when you work in elite sport, your clientele turn up every day for training. Okay, like you're looking after a team. I was looking after 50 elite athletes, so they were there. So coming out and then going into business, it's like even though I worked in business, I was a business analyst and that sort of stuff. I was missing a key element to that, and that was the marketing. And I was blaming like the clinic I was working out of wasn't very well located. There was no drive-by traffic. There wasn't any walk-by traffic. It was hidden underneath a building. There were lots of discount places up the road. The economy was rubbish. So I had, if I wanted to make myself better, I had no limit of the number of excuses I could make as to why I was failing. But I'd always been an educator, so I said, I'm going to start to create online courses.
Oh, yeah.
But then I thought, well, if I create online courses and nobody knows that they exist, they're just going to sit there in a dusty corner of the internet. So that's when I did my first marketing course. And then all of a sudden, as if by magic, my massage business started to take off. And within 90 days, I was fully booked. I'm going, what's happening here? And it wasn't the fact that, the clinic was badly located. There's no drive-through or walk past traffic. It wasn't the fact of the discount places were still on the road. Like the economy was still a mess. None of those external factors had changed.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that had changed was what was between my ears and my outlook and my mindset. Right. Huh. And so that's when I really, really sort of fell in love with the marketing and what makes people think as far as their purchasing choices and that sort of stuff.
Oh, I like that. Okay. So in the couple of minutes that we have remaining, what I want to do is I want you to talk about that link, timcooper.com.au/clarity. We got about 5 minutes left of the show. If you have any questions, call us up, 657-383-1109. Ask Tim and I a question about something that we've talked about today or one of the struggles that you have. My team is standing by to field those calls. So talk about the link, Tim, timcooper.com.au/clarity.
Okay, Sean. Look, the biggest thing that I've come across through putting together the Global Wellness Professionals Marketing Summit and also coaching people is that everybody wants more clients or more customers, whatever terminology you want to talk about your consumer. And what I find is that I'll start a session. I'll ask a few questions. Go, yes, I've done that. Yes, I've done that. Tick, 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 tick. I get about 10, 15 minutes into the call, and I turn and go, look, honestly, I don't know who my customer is, just based on the conversation. And this is something that it's not new. We talk about avatar, but we talk about other things. So basically, what that link is, it's a link to some worksheets called the Business Clarity Worksheets. And there's also a 44-minute walkthrough video explanation that goes with it. And so what this does is it makes you sit down and only think about your avatar, because if you don't, you can't build an avatar until you know who you're serving. So it goes through, it makes you do a bit of self-analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you really love to do? What do you really want to bring to the market? And I encourage people to go out and talk to friends and family to find it, because sometimes we can't see what our strengths are because it just comes naturally, like they're natural talents. We can't see our weaknesses. Sometimes we're blinded by things because we're so focused, and sometimes it's those weaknesses. Sometimes it's the things we shouldn't be doing that are getting away. That are our major obstacles. So we go through this process, and we try to identify what is your love, what gets your heart pounding, what is your passion, and then we talk about what sort of person do you want to work with. So we talk about your customer, because not everybody out there is the perfect customer. I know when I was reading Russell Brunson's book, .com Secrets, very early on, he says he woke up one morning and he discovered he hated his clients. Like he developed all these, this bunch of clients that he didn't like to work with. And so you've got to identify the traits and the attributes of the people you want to work with, because if you're going to get a result for people, they've got to do their bit too. A lot of people sort of put the emphasis on you to solve their problems, and that is just a horrible.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to go there, right? So identify the attributes of the people that you want to work with. Identify the attributes of people you don't want to work with, right? And then based on that, you can work out what you're bringing to market, and then you create your avatar. But that's all put into that sheet. So it's only four worksheets, but if you take the time, like people say, yes, I know, I've heard all that before, and I go, that's great. And what have you done with it? Because these are foundations. Because if you don't know who you are, what you want to do, and who you're going to do it for, nothing else works. Like you can't bring a product to market or a service to market. You can't market. Like you can't send a message out there if you don't know who you're talking to. So your messages, your marketing won't resonate.
What your message even is. You gotta have a message first.
Correct. And so that's what these worksheets are all about. It's about getting that strong foundation and moving forward with clarity. So this is what I'm doing. This is who I'm doing it for. This is my ideal avatar. This is my message.
Yep.
And take it forward.
Very cool. In the remaining 30 seconds, what is the one takeaway? If the listeners don't listen to anything else that we've talked about, what is the one thing that you want them to know and understand?
That strategy is only 5% to success, and the other 95% is mindset. So you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're getting in your own way, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. And you've got to believe that you are part of the greater intelligence, and you have everything that you need to succeed already inside you. You just got to open up, believe, and listen and ask for inner guidance. But go through, do the work, get the strategies in place, but also believe that you've got to have a very, very positive mindset to succeed.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on the show. It was absolutely amazing. I learned a ton. Great conversation. And I wish you the best in 2020, my friend.
Thanks, Sean. It's an absolute pleasure. I appreciate the time. And I always love chatting with you. And I also wish you and your listeners an amazing 2020 and beyond. It's not only a new year, it's a new decade. So let's really do something special.
It really is. It's a new decade. And with that, I want to thank the listeners for joining us on this amazing inspirational episode of Life Transformation Radio, where conversations transform. And with that, I close the show by saying live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.